Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Series where I preview and predict every men's basketball conference tournament in college basketball. This is the 27th of 31 episodes in the series. Now up is the SEC tournament, which all begins tomorrow night. It will be held at the Enterprise Center in Nashville, as it is usually every season. It will all begin tomorrow night, as I mentioned, Wednesday, March 10th. The second round, Thursday, March 11th. The quarterfinals, Friday, March 12th. The semifinals, Saturday, March 13th. And the championship, Sunday, March 14th. So, without further ado, here we go. One first-round game this year, because obviously Auburn is not participating this year due to the self-imposed ban. So, first round, you got 13-seeded Texas A&M against 12-seeded Vanderbilt. A&M on the year, 8-9 overall, 2-8 in conference play. Vandy, 8-15 overall, 3-13 in conference play. My projection here is Texas A&M by 6 to the 137.5. Therefore, I have A&M advancing to the next round. Second round, Thursday, March 11th, 12 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. Central. 9-seeded Mississippi State against 8-seeded Kentucky. Mississippi State, 14-13 overall, 8-10 in conference play. Kentucky, 9-15 overall, 8-9 in conference play. My projection is Kentucky by 5, total 141.5. Therefore, I have Kentucky into the quarterfinals. The second of 4 second-round games, Thursday, March 11th. This one at 2:30 p.m. on the SEC Network. 13-seeded Texas A&M against 5-seeded Florida. Florida on the season, 13-8 overall, 9-7 in conference play. My projection is Florida by 10, but I don't have a total because, as I said, future totals are harder to project than future lines. So Florida by 10, therefore Florida to the quarterfinals. The third of 4 second-round games, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on the SEC Network. 10-seeded Georgia against 7-seeded Missouri. Georgia, 14-11 overall, 7-11 in conference play. And Missouri, 15-8 overall, 8-8 in conference play. My projection is Missouri 5.5, total 151.5. Therefore, I have Missouri into the quarterfinals. In the last of 4 second-round games on Thursday, March 11th, 9:30 p.m. on the SEC Network, 11-seeded South Carolina against 6-seeded Ole Miss. South Carolina, 6-14 overall, 4-12 in conference play. And Ole Miss, 15-10 overall, 10-8 in conference play. My projection is Ole Miss by 9, total 149.5. Therefore, I have Ole Miss into the quarterfinals. Quarterfinals, Friday, March 12th, 12 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. 8-seeded Kentucky against 1-seeded Alabama. It's like they knew that Kentucky was going to be on ESPN. Oh, brother. Alabama on the season, 21-6 overall, 16-2 in conference play. My projection here is Bama by 10.5. As we know, Kentucky's been a major underachiever this year, probably the most disappointing team in all of college basketball. If you ask me, it's close between them and Duke, among others. And a lot of their talent has not lived up to par this year. They're deep. Brandon Boston Jr. and Davion Mintz, Terrence Clark, all these guys, they're solid players. They mesh well. They have good balance, but they really don't have a standout guy. Like, Alabama has 2 standout guys. They have John Petty Jr. and Herbert Jones, and they also have Jaden Shackelford as well, who is another solid player. And you can't forget about Javon Quinterly as well. So I have Alabama advancing to the semifinals. The second of 4 quarterfinal games, 2:30 p.m. on ESPN. 5-seeded Florida against 2-seeded Tennessee. 4-seeded Tennessee, my bad. Tennessee on the season, 17-7 overall, 10-7 in conference play. Good roster. I thought they underachieved a little bit this year. Jaden Springer is a good player, and Victor Bailey Jr. I like as well. Gators I thought underachieved this year, although it's sad what happened to Keontae Johnson. That really ruined their ceiling, in my opinion. But they're still a solid team, per se. Trey Mann has led the charge after the unfortunate situation with Johnson. But my projection is Tennessee by 2, and I have Tennessee advancing to the semifinals. The third of 4 quarterfinal games, 7-seeded Missouri against 2-seeded Arkansas. Arkansas on the year, 21-5 overall, 13-4 in conference play. Missouri, I thought, underachieved, absolutely collapsed at the end of the year. They'll probably, I don't know if they'll make the tournament. They might. You never know. Drew Smith's been good for them. So has Xavier Pinzon. And on the other side, with Arkansas, they've been led by Moses Moody, who's been tremendous. They have a lot of swagger to them. I project Arkansas by 8, therefore I have Arkansas in the semifinal. In the last of 4 quarterfinal games on Thursday, March 12th, 9:30 p.m. on the SEC Network, 6-seeded Ole Miss against 3-seeded LSU. Ole Miss, okay team. They're led by a good player, Devontae Shuler. And on the other side, with LSU, they're decent as well. They're led by an absolute stud in Cameron Thomas. Like, he's so good. And I think he's the best player in this game. I project LSU by 3.5. Therefore, I have LSU in the semifinals. 2 semifinal matchups on Saturday, March 13th. 1 o'clock ESPN. 4-seeded Tennessee, 1-seeded Alabama. Alabama has the best players on the court in this game. Arguably the best 3 players on the court in this game. I projected by 5.5. So therefore, Alabama having the championship game. In the semifinals, the second of 2, 3:30 on ESPN. 2-seeded LSU against, or 3-seeded LSU against 2-seeded Arkansas. LSU, you could argue, has the best player on the court in Thomas. And then I know Arkansas is good. They're stacked. Moody's awesome too. But I project Arkansas by 2. I think Arkansas is a little bit deeper than LSU. And I think that Arkansas will make the championship game. In the championship game on Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN, you got 2-seeded Arkansas, 1-seeded Alabama. Talent galore. Like I said, Arkansas. You got Moody. You have J.D. Nate and Justin Smith. And on the other side with Bama, we talked about their guys. We talked about Shackelford, Petty, Jones, and Quinterly. That's their big 4. I project Bama by 4 in this game, ironically enough. And there you have it, my predicted winner of the 2021 SEC tournament, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Arkansas, I think, will end up being a 3 seed in the tournament. LSU will make it. Tennessee will make it. They'll be like in that 7, 8, 9, 10 range. Missouri, I don't know. Maybe if things break right. If they're in the semis or the championship, you got to consider Missouri. Florida, I think, will make it. Ole Miss, like Missouri, I think, has a shot if they go on a little bit of a run. And obviously, Kentucky's been a disaster this year. They have no shot unless they win the auto bid, which is highly unlikely. So there you have it for the tournament podcast for the SEC. Next up is the American Athletic Conference.